one of the probably one of the most credible reasons why they moved was catastrophic environmental changes. Don't forget that these civilizations had been around for 1,000 plus years. Some of these areas. So catastrophic environmental changes could have been the reason why they had to migrate and go to where a more flourishing, humid, near the ocean, a lot of water supplies, all these cenotes, right? That we spoke about earlier. So they went to this area that had much more to offer them. One of the theories of where they went was the ancient aliens theory. Tikal, Guatemala, which is the largest city of the classical Mayan period, was one of the last cities to be abandoned, and the population dropped from 20 million in the entire peninsula. And right now we're at about 6 million Maya living in the peninsula. The ancient aliens theory also suggests that the disappearance was at the end of one of the calendar periods, and a new calendar, so 900, around 900, around, actually it's around 838 AD was the end of the calendar period. So a new calendar was created at the time, and the calendar was called the long count. The count of the long count is 5,125 years. That's one great cycle. You divide that into 13 units. Now we have the number 13 again, which is about 400 years each. So each of the 13 units is around 400 years, which is called a baktun. So 1 over 13, 400 years is one baktun. 13 baktuns equals 5,125 years. So this right now, when they started doing the mass migration, was at the end of one of these baktuns. And in 838 AD, the baktun celebration did not happen. The celebration at the end of the baktuns were huge. It was such a spectacle to witness. But at the end of this baktun, which was the end of one of the 13 cycles, there was no celebration. There was in 800 AD, sacred sites began to be abandoned. The Maya believed that the Pleiades is the home of their ancestors. So this is the ancient aliens connection. There is text and information passed down that say the Maya believed that they had some sort of connection and ancestry to beings that came from the Pleiades. The Maya say their ancestors went home to the Pleiades. Not all of them say that. If you watch a documentary, for example, this one on ancient aliens on History Channel, they'll say that the Maya say their ancestors went home to the Pleiades. Go down to Yucatan Peninsula, find 100 local Maya, ask them. You might get one person that says that, because it's not commonly accepted by all of them, but some of them that are really deeply into this information or even into the ancient alien theory have spoke about that. So there is evidence to suggest that the Maya were aware of and had communication with otherworldly beings. So such as the um, frequency technology embedded in the structures, and what I'm going to show you in just a bit here. So we do have information that suggests that they could have been in contact with otherworldly beings or have some sort of descendants from them. But just because they're descended from these beings from the Pleiades doesn't mean that they went back home there, right? That is the connection there. Just because they say that they're descended from them does not mean that they went back home to the Pleiades. There is a book called Bringers of the Dawn. Some of you may have heard of it, by Barbara Messiniak. And also another book by Lisa Royal called Prism of Lyra. And in that book, in those books, it talks about the Pleiadians being the original Earthlings, right? So the Pleiades, the Pleiadians, if you want to get into this ET question here, is probably really an ancestry for the entire planet, not just this one specific tribe that had a connection and the Pleiades came back and got them. The Pleiadians actually came to our planet as according to these books and other researchers and channelers, before humans as we know it were even created. The Pleiadians had left our planet when the Lyrans and the Syrians came to this planet because they did not want to be and exist with the Lyrans and Syrians because of so much bad past karma that they had with these civilizations, that they didn't want anything to do with them. So they were called the original Earthlings. When the genetic hybridization program occurred, when ETs came back here, when the Syrians did it, when the Lyrans were doing it with the Syrians, when the Anunnaki did it, and maybe more times throughout our vast history, when that occurred, the the beings that were on the planet at the time attempting to do a hybridization program actually needed the DNA and the assistance of the Pleiadians because they had already been on Earth and their DNA had already been embedded into some of the primitive um, animals and ourselves. The whole connection to the Pleiades is plentiful, but it seems like it's a global phenomena where the Pleiadians had a really huge role on our planet in general. And that needs to be said with a disclaimer as well. These constellations are huge. There are many stars there. Pleiades has multiple stars and a lot of planets. So when you speak of a specific race, it doesn't have to be just one group of beings or that looked a specific way. So these cultures were much more diverse than we are aware of when we just say the word Pleiades. So there is evidence to suggest that the Maya were aware and had communication with otherworldly beings. And this image here is the Rocket Man image that was the Rocket Man inscription that was actually found in Palenque. And this has now been taken from Palenque to the museum in Mexico City. And in Palenque, they actually have a fake version of this now that they've created just for people to view. But for a lot of people, this is the smoking gun of them having some ET connection. And the reason why they call it a rocket man is because it's believed to be a rocket with all these gadgets and bells and whistles around it and some sort of being that is riding this rocket. Others have speculated that this person here is actually Pakal because, Pakal created most of the inscription columns, hieroglyphic columns in that area, had an invested interest in documenting 180 years of history. And this could be him or his homage, an homage to him. So is it an ET? Is it Pakal going into another world? We don't know. Here's a little closer view of it. And now this is the vertical view of the Rocket Man. So it looks like he's holding a steering wheel, right? Blasting off. And we have all these otherworldly beings and figures around. So is this look at this smiley face right here too. That's another thing as well. And a lot of these images and hieroglyphs, especially if you go to museums and you see it, you see a lot of like joyous, happy, smiling kind of images, and that was really a Maya trait where it was like embedded with joy. The ancient alien theory continues here, where statues such as these have supposedly been discovered, right? And we have one here. What does the one to the left look like? Looks like a UFO. I mean, no question about it. And even the inscriptions on each side of those look like pyramids. And then we have to the right here, we have this image that looks like kind of like an ET with slanted eyes, maybe something to do with a gray ET or some sort of being that came to Earth. However, the reason why I put here artifactal hoax is you'll see many different documentaries within Disclosure, within Ancient Aliens, that say that these are real. Actually, I feel like every single one I've seen has actually said that. However, there is no evidence to suggest these are real at all. We can't find them anymore. They were found, discovered, put out on the internet, and now we don't know even where they are. We don't know even if they existed in the first place. We don't know who found them, right? So, yes, these could definitely be true. But the fact that we can't track it back at all puts a ounce of doubt in there that you cannot say it's 100% real if you have even an inkling of doubt. I personally believe that the Maya did have a huge connection to extraterrestrials, interdimensionals, or just a realm of consciousness through meditation, through frequencies, through astronomy, or whatever. However, if this is the one, is if this actually occurred and if this is real, I do not know, and no one really knows. And if you did a simple search of this and you try to track it back yourself, you'll have as much information proving it's a hoax as you do, actually more information trying to say that it's a hoax than that saying it's real. But that needs to be said with a grain of salt as well, because so much of this information is just said to be a hoax. When there are things that come out that are really true, that can really change the conventional timeline, people go ahead and say it's a hoax. We live in a world of such disinformation. It's so hard to use discernment when you want to believe firstly. So you really need to take a step back. You can still have your belief, but then also process the facts of the situation. This looks real, this looks legit. Oh, there's no backing to it, there's no person that we can find, we don't know where these are located. I want it to be real, but I'm not going to really go ahead and say that this is the reason why they had alien contact. Now, Here is what has been taught to me, at least in school, which was the Spanish did it. You know, they came down here, they brought disease down there, they brought disease. People died by the millions from sicknesses. That definitely happened, probably more so in the North America, right, with the native tribes here in, in the U.S., the current U.S. But when the Spanish arrived, they found completely abandoned cities, like completely abandoned cities. It took the Spanish almost 2 centuries to fully conquer the Maya. It's not like the Maya died in 50, even 100 years from mass disease. It took them 2 centuries to do it. The Spanish did not wipe them out since the cities were already abandoned and a huge population actually still remains there. They did, however, gain the support of some Maya communities to help in fighting against the Aztecs, who have been aggressive towards the Maya for years. So the real huge shame was that there had been so much conflicts and internal conflicts between neighboring tribes and civilizations that had lasted at that point for hundreds, if not thousands of years, like 1,000+ years, for some of these conflicts to have become what they became. So when the Spanish came, just like how it happened really all over the Americas, north to south, and other places in the world too, is that the conquistadors, let's just talk about this area, came and they made local, pacts with local tribes, and then they enterprised off the fact that they didn't get along or maybe wanted the other tribe to be completely abolished, and they utilized that for their own benefit in order to bring down everyone really in that area and be the conquerors. So the Maya were very important in helping the Spanish fight the Aztecs, because the Aztecs had been aggressive towards the Maya for years. They'd even treated them as slaves. They would get them, they would win local wars and battles, right? Local battles with them, and they would take them as indentured, well, not even indentured servants, but straight up slaves. They would take them as slaves in order to help build their own empire. But the real thing is that the Maya are still there. The Maya today number about 6 million people, making them the largest single block of indigenous people north of Peru. So I'm going to say that again, 6 million people. So now let's go back to 900 CE, right? 20 million people, around 800 CE, we could say, we're always estimating here because we really don't know. 800 CE, 20 million people in the Mayan area, right? Now, how many years after are we? We are, what's that? 1,200 plus years after the time when there was 20 million Maya. Now we have around 6 million. So to say that, that is around 14 million people dying isn't really the case, because that is expanded over, 1,200 years. And the migration into those smaller areas, they weren't as populated, and they weren't going back out and flourishing again. The population was slowly getting smaller and smaller and declining up until now. So there was definitely wars that occurred, battles between the Aztecs and maybe some with the conquistadors as well. But mainly it was a migration issue. They moved out of that area. There's even evidence to suggest that there was another asteroid that hit around 800 CE, creating different climate changes and issues in the area where Palenque is, and even south of around the Honduras, that made them have to go to this area. So when they went there over 1,200 years, the population slowly decreased. But 6 million people is quite a lot living in that area, right? That claim to be descendants from Maya. The largest Maya groups are found in Mexico, such as the Yucatecs, which is around 300,000 members of that tribe. The Tzotzil, which is 120,000, and the Tzetzal, let me see if I can say that right, Tzeltal, which is 80,000 members. For the first time in these remote villages that connect these cities, if you remember, go back to one of the maps that I showed you, where I showed you Uxmal, we had Muna, we had Tikul, we had Santa Elena, all around each other. Uxmal is the major area, but all these other ones are villages and cities. Some of them are bigger than others, and going all the way down, even all the way to Tulum, the roads that connect those areas, and Playa del Carmen, you have small villages, and in all these villages, the predominant descendants there are all Maya. At these hotels that you go to, and people that are serving you and working at these hotels are all Maya. They speak in Maya. dialects to each other, and that is the common language that they speak before they even speak Spanish. So did they vanish? No, they're still there. There's 6 million of them there. They're still speaking their own language as the number one language. And this is the first generation, the first time in history that Maya is not being taught in the schools in the Yucatan Peninsula. So our friend Jaime, when he went to school, he's in his 30s, right? So when he went to school, they taught Maya. It was a common language to learn. And now his children are going to school and they've just recently stopped teaching Maya. So it's not only prevalent, it's not only there and they didn't vanish, but only now in 2020, 2021, and just a little before, are they actually not teaching the language anymore. So this civilization is such an old ancient civilization, and the culture and the information and the dialect still exist, right? And now it's actually been, this could be an entirely different presentation. This whole other component of it all is the combination of Maya and Catholicism becoming one. Because now you go and talk to these Maya, I mean, they're all Catholic, right? But they still follow Maya traditions and rituals that regular like Catholics from Europe were probably looked down upon. So just looking at the way that they mingle together, and even if you go to Temescal, you see and you hear certain Catholic rites being spoken by them, but it's 100% Maya and with 100% intention of purity, cleaning, and all of these ancient rites. However, Catholicism is embedded into the culture now. It's become one. It's merged into one. There are some that are just 100% following the way. And Laura Eisenhower, for example, has been down there. She went down there in 2019, and she connected with some of those people that did ceremonies in order to bring forward the fifth world. So that is occurring as well. So as I said, most employees that you meet and you interact with definitely are of Maya descendant in the area. And the Spanish were not entirely responsible for the drop in population. That's not the case at all. They're still there right now. And when we spoke to Jaime and we asked him and Martin in the interview that is on our YouTube channel, when we asked him and said, "What would you want the world to know?" Right? And he goes, "We're still here. We didn't go anywhere. Stop thinking that we left." You know, they really want people to know that they're there. And then he also says, "Come and visit Santa Elena." So hopefully some of you guys will join us and we can go down there and visit Jaime and spend a few days in that area, but go really all the way around the whole Yucatan Peninsula. All right, everybody, we're coming to a close now on the presentation. I hope you guys enjoyed this. I'm going to talk now about the Ancient Mayan tour that we're going to do, and then talk about a couple of other events that you can check out. Some I've done already, some I'm going to do, and then also take questions. So if you have any questions at this point, go ahead and leave in the Q&A area, and I'll get to them in a moment here. But if you're interested at all in going down to the Yucatan, experiencing almost everything that I showed you here, most of those sites, and cenotes, you can see some images here. The beaches, we're going to be in Tulum and Playa del Carmen. We have options for just one person. We have options for if you're a couple, and then also it's going to be that the cost to go is going to cover your hotel, your flight, your food, your activities, everything, everything except for the free day where you go and have your own meals during that day. So we're trying to make it as efficient as possible, where you just pay one sum and then we cover everything, including transportation. And that's going to be November 17th to 24th of 2021, as long as everything goes according to plan. And then we're going to do that every single year, take different speakers with us, because it's like the most amazing place for me in the world. I love the Yucatan so much. I like just thinking about it makes me so happy, thinking about Jaime down there. And when I go back, it's just like I can't even, words can't really express the energy that you really get to experience going down there. So if you want to go there, let me know, email us, I'll send you more details, or check it out under the live events page on the website. And here is just the schedule of what we do when we go down there, what we're going to be doing. Day one, we arrive in Merida, we check in the hotel, and we have my birthday dinner. We do day two, we headed down to Uxmal, and we're there from the 18th. We go to the archaeological site that day. We check in the Eco Hotel, and then we go on day three to three different sites. So we go to Santa Elena, ancient sites there. We go to Caba, and we go to Sayil, which is a very lesser known site that very few people go to. And it doesn't, you have to go off a dirt road even to get to the entrance of it. And then on day 4, we go to we're in Santa Elena, and we leave and we go to another lesser known site called Ochintok. And then we end up in Playa del Carmen. While we're in Santa Elena, we're going to do Temescal every single day. And we're going to visit the Mayan cardinal points that have now become the cardinal points. This is another thing that the Catholics had done when they came down to these areas, and they do all over the world, really, is that they find the spiritual areas, the spiritual centers that were utilized by these tribes, and then they build a church on top of it, or a cross, or some sort of shrine on top of it, to basically one up, the culture there. So we visit the cardinal points, but the cardinal points were points that were allocated from ancient times by the Maya to be specific areas of high frequencies and energy. And now there are little shrines on top of it that are, you know, Catholic shrines that have been put there hundreds of years ago. So we also go visit that, and we kind of see the history of it all. And then that night on day 4, we're going to have dinner at Playa del Carmen, the beach overlooking the ocean. And then day 5, we go cenote, and that's our free day. Day 6, Playa del Carmen, another cenote, the Tulum archaeological sites, a day tour in Coba. And then day 7, back to Merida, explore the city at night, and then go home the next day. So if any of you are interested, just shoot me an email. I'll give you my info here in a bit. And some other presentations I've done that you can check out on our website, or you can check out the courses that are going to be coming out on this, where I'm going to keep making them bigger and bigger. And today's presentation I did for, oh, wow, we went for 3 hours and 20 minutes. So a good hour over what I thought it would be, because I don't check time when I do these, I just create them. But this presentation really could be another 2 hours long, because there's so much information and videos that I didn't even get to share. So coming down with us will allow you to see that. But this presentation here is creation stories of ancient civilizations. And I've gone through hundreds, maybe up to 300 different ancient stories, creation stories, origin stories, where I dissect the similarities and the commonalities between them all, and also the differences, and then dissect time and origin stories into two things: prehistory origin stories and Earth history origin stories. Prehistory is before linear time, when the void existed. Earth stories are stories of how things occurred on Earth, the drama that played out on Earth in order for us to come to where we are now. And then another one, the Ultimate Sound and Frequency webinar, which is a 4+ hour presentation currently available for free on our website. And in this one, I break down everything from ancient civilizations and sound frequency to quantum physics and sound frequency, metaphysics, future technology and application of sound frequency. So it's called the Ultimate Sound and Frequency webinar for a reason. I even go down different sound tools and instruments and how to utilize it. This is the just a part of what I'm going to be doing soon, which is in April. I'm doing a 6-week sound course where I'm going to do sound healing training, giving presentations, and then also um, providing a lot of information on ancient use of sound frequency, and also the how to play sound tools, right? And then last presentation that I'm going to be doing, that if you were at the Watkins conference, you got an opportunity to experience, is Galactic Origins, Dimensions, and Black Holes, which is probably one of my favorite presentations I've ever put together, where we're going to explore the galactic origins of humanity and how dimensions of black holes tie into the karmic process. All right, everybody. So that's it for my presentation. Thank you all very much. I love every single one of you. If you're interested in learning more, go to portalextension.org, take a look at online events. You all have access, unlimited replay access to this presentation. There's hundreds of other presentations you get access to. Please do support us. You can support us on our Patreon. You could join us on this tour. You could sign up for any future events. And here is my email if you want to contact me and ask anything, especially about the tour. It's neilpta@gmail.com. And my Instagram is at MC_resonance. And you can follow my conscious poetry, my conscious hip hop there, and also learn about events that we have coming up. All right. So now I'm going to take a look and see if we have questions here. How was that for everybody? We did a journey through the Maya Empire via Zoom during quarantine. All right, let me look at the questions here. Okay, Samuel. Okay, increase the volume. I'm sorry, brother. I didn't see this till now. Hopefully my volume was okay for most of you. And I'll try to raise it on the replay so you can see it, okay? All right. Do you know of, or have you been to Templar Cave in Brazil and the foot wide quartz path that leads to it. No, I have not. But what you could do is send me an email on that because I wouldn't mind checking that out. So I'm gonna leave my email here, Neil PTA. So contact me if you want to go to this tour this year, next year, want to put a deposit down, want to know more about it. Contact me. Also, if you can, anonymous attendee, if you could tell me about the Templar Cave in Brazil, I could probably look it up. But if you have info, send that to me. Alton Ha, no connection to Amun Ra because it was actually they do not know what the original name was at Alton Ha. That was a name that was given to it later in around 1950 onwards when they discovered it. Why is the stonework so different compared to the sites in Peru? So the stonework is different because the different cultures at different times, really, and just like how the stonework in the U.S. for indigenous tribes thousands of miles away were very different as well. There are similarities, and it looks like that maybe were even descendant from some people from Peru. But in Peru, there were so many different tribes that had influence. We have documentaries with Brian Forrester on our YouTube channel. You should look into the different tribes there. But just to name a few, we have the Inca, we have the Paracas, so many different cultures, and they all had distinct pottery. They had distinct ways of creating the structures. So the culture and the structure and the architecture is really an emergence of not just that tribe, but all the ones around it as well. So the Olmec, for example, they were right there next to the Maya for so long, and they had a good relationship. They were trading information and even information on how to create these sites. The cenotes are not hot springs. They're just regular temperature, like whatever the temperature is outside. They I jumped into one. The weather there is almost always great. Like this is 1 month where it might be a little colder, but it's not even cold compared to where you're at, for example, Omar, in Canada, right? So um, it's just a little bit lower than body temperature, not too much. It's pretty easy to jump into in almost any time of year, but they're not hot springs and they're not heated, and there's no lava or underground volcano activity at all. The taste of the drink, right, is it's bitter but delicious. That's the way I could explain it. So cacao, if you go to any grocery store really at this point and purchase some cacao and then put it in hot water. So put cacao in there and then put hot water in there, mix it, taste it. You'll taste the bitterness, but you'll taste good. And then add some almond milk in there if you want to, make it a little sweeter and make it just more neutral. Not really sweeter, but more of a neutral taste. And if you have hell drink with almond milk, some people can't even tell the difference between regular cocoa. If you add a little bit of something sweet to the cacao, it takes on that sweet flavor. One of my favorite things to do is banana with almond milk and cacao. Tastes like a chocolate banana milk, but it's 100% pure energy. The name of the eco-friendly place, I do need to find out, so I'll try to find that out at another point, and you can email me about it. All right. So Lotus is asking here, please mention in context the human sacrificial aspects that applies to this talk. In historical retrospect and culturally going forward, it traces evolution and just more about it on light of ascension teachings, purification, and the nonviolent movement and vegetarian. Do less harm to ourselves and to one other's lifestyle. I think it was considered ceremonial and appropriately performed spiritually, just to know a little bit about the topic. Yeah, I didn't add that into here. There's a whole other topic that I would probably have to bring into another presentation. But yeah, and it didn't happen the whole entire time as well. And certain areas didn't actually utilize human sacrifice. So it happened at certain times. And now, if we look at the history of why it happened and what occurred and what was going on and what kind of scarcity they had and lack and fears, maybe specific people and emperors and kings felt that it was the way in order to bring the rain or whatever. But it wasn't the case for the whole 3,000 year span of the civilization. The hotel rooms are single occupancy. However, you have a big bed. It's not like most of these places are going to have like a queen or king size bed. So single occupancy. So when it's two people, that's why it's a little bit of a discount because you're going to utilize the same room, but we're really charging for the travel, the entering the destinations, the places, the separate hotel. So that's all been worked out in the price. That's for you, John. All right. So let's see here. Halima is saying, no question, just gratitude for your and Soul's fantastic efforts, sharing so brilliantly and generously with us. I've learned so much from you today. We send great blessings to you both, Jaime, and all of you, and all you're doing. Super love. Thanks. Hope to see you in the next venture. Thank you so much, Halima. Like, made my heart warm right there. Love you. Thank you. And Cody Scott is asking, was it aliens? And who built the megalithic sites underneath the smaller Mayan stonework? Okay, so was it aliens? I'm not going to say yes. I'm not going to say no. But from my experience in the world, a lot of things do connect to an extraterrestrial connection, right? Whether it was happening in that moment, whether thousands of years ago, right, the tribes of which the Mayas descended from had some connection to ETs, or if the Maya were channeling and connected to ETs, or if they landed, none of those. There's enough evidence for me to say that is the case, but I do believe there's some sort of connection there. And who built the megalithic sites? There's also stories about giants that were there that built those sites. And if you go to places like Peru and you see that on top of these megalithic sites, right, you have stonework that is much more ancient than the stonework below it, which goes to show you that the people that existed before these other sites were created on top were actually more advanced architecturally than the people that came later. But it doesn't always have to be a different type of people. Don't forget, some of these civilizations were around for 2,000 plus years. So maybe they had 500 years of a great advancement, and then they had some sort of fall, some sort of king or emperor that didn't lead them correctly, or there was some sort of drought, something occurred, and then they didn't have the same wisdom in order to build these sites. So if they were, of another civilization or ETs or giants that they were there before, or were there also Maya individuals that eventually, you know, lost some of this wisdom and built other structures, that's all speculation too. And I'm not going to ever say something is 100% if there's a doubt. Okay. Yes. All right. So that's all the questions right there. I'm gonna look in the chat room right now. Judy is saying, will the group fly together? Yeah. So if you are in an area where other people are flying from, my intention is to have people fly at the same time because we're all going to get there at the same time anyway. So if you're coming from LA, I got a feeling that, since we're in this area, there will probably be a few friends that we know in this area that will be flying out, and other people that are here, they'll fly together. But if you're the only person from Connecticut, you'll be the only person there. But we will time everything so that you can get there around the same time. My intention is to hopefully have you all arrive on November 17th around 1 or 2 o'clock in the afternoon so that you have time to check into a hotel. We'll arrange your Uber for you. So you get to the hotel. We got the hotel driver there waiting for you. Has the sign up. You come out, you see it, get in the car, go to your hotel, check in, and then Soul and I will show up. Probably we'll give each other a huge hug, and then we're gonna go out and explore the town, and that's how the it's gonna begin. And yes, you can fly directly from Vancouver. No, you can fly directly from Vancouver to Mexico City, and then Mexico City will take you to Merida. That's how it goes. Normally, Mexico City is the stop off. Do I need a visa to enter country? No. If you're a Canadian citizen, you do not need a visa to go to Mexico. All right, everybody. I think that is it. Let me see here. I'm just taking one last look. Okay, okay, okay. You have a friend of Maya descent. Can you assume he's part alien? Well, I would say if you can assume your friend's part alien, I would say why can't you assume you're part alien too? Because I really feel that we all have DNA connected to the stars. All right, this is it, everybody. The final leg, the final chapter is about to not close, but is about to be done so we can create a new chapter. And I hope you guys enjoyed this. It looks like you did. I'm going to end today with a spoken word piece. And I speak so much during these things that my voice almost always feels like it's going to go out at the end. And look, I got this thing online, which is a throat thing for computer IT people that speak too much on webcam, and it's literally like echinacea, but it's for your throat. It's like but it's used by business professionals. It even has like business names on it and stuff. All right, so I'm gonna do a presentation, a spoken word piece here, a poem to close us out for the day. But before I do that, let's do what we started out with. We're going to just take a few breaths together and pay reverence. Because the reason why I do these presentations, and I really recommend you seeing my creation stories on ancient civilizations, because it's like a 3 hour storytelling of ancient stories and then drawing how they're all connected. Oh, all these stories talk about ETs. All these stories talk about the same ETs. All these ones talk about sound and frequency, right? So take a look at that, because my intention for this is to pay reverence for information that we do not know about these ancient cultures. So there's some information that we do know that I maybe didn't touch on because I wanted to concentrate on things that I'm finding and discovering with my wife. So it's really about paying reverence to our ancient story of humanity that isn't just of this planet, but really goes back into the galactic history of how we even got here in the first place. And this story of the Maya is just one of countless stories of our creation. And even there are stories that have probably completely been lost to time that we may never rediscover. Let's say Atlantis existed, right? Let's say what people are saying around 13,000 years ago was the beginning of the decline of Atlantis, but humans have been on this planet for much longer, going back to the land of Lemuria, Omu, and even further. So all these stories of our history have been lost to time, and it's okay because that's just part of the experience on Earth. It's not like we need to, we're losing something spiritually by not being sentimental about our past. It's not like you're losing. You can be completely present, focusing on this moment, and not know about the past, and not really be, you know, not doing anything negative by doing that, right? So when I say these stories, when we talk about these civilizations, or when we talk about creation stories and the rituals and sacrifices and wars that happened, this is all what has taken place to bring us to this moment. It is the drama of human existence. And to me, it's extremely beautiful. So what we're going to do right now is take a few breaths together and just keep in mind the whole of the Yucatan Peninsula, right? You can expand it to the earth, you can do what you feel, but we're going to expand it to whole the Yucatan Peninsula. And in this moment, send our collective intention and vibration out to the peninsula, to the descendants there, to the history there, to the sacredness there, to whatever has happened in that area for that to even occur. And give thanks to the fact that we could sit here right now on this webinar and listen to information about the ancient past through images and videos. Like, how amazing is that? So, okay, everybody, I invite you all now just to take a few normal breaths. Breathe in through your nose, out through your mouth. Keep breathing in and out. And if you would like to, you can let out a little sigh when you let out your breath. Ah. Now imagine the whole of the Yucatan Peninsula, and now travel back in time, hundreds of years ago, 1,000 years ago, 2,000 years ago, 3,000 years ago. And as we go back in time, we see the population of our bird's eye view of the Yucatan increase and increase and increase till we go all the way back when there was around 20 million people living in this area. Thriving civilization with trade, interaction with other city states around them. See these beautiful pyramid structures, architecture that was utilized. And as we breathe, we cultivate gratitude in our hearts for the human story and the Maya, their involvement in our collective evolution, the stories that they shared with us, the calendar that they shared with us. And we allow the gratitude and the thanks, the reverence to come out and emanate from our being, from every cell in our body, from our hearts, to every descendant of the Maya, to the ancestors of the Maya, and then out into the entire world and into the cosmos, into our galactic origins and the species that assisted in the creation of human race. Take another deep breath in and let it out with a sigh. Ah. Infinite gratitude and thanks to all of creation for this now moment. And so it is. Okay, now this spoken word piece here that I'm going to do, let me pull it up. This one's called Secret History. I'm going to do two spoken word pieces and we're going to call it a day. This one's called Secret History. Secret History. It's the perception of mind, intertwined with the channeled find of adolescence redefined cosmic knowledge of why we exist in a matrix like environmental delusional, confused but all my thoughts manifest in dimensions that only exist in my mentality. That is hard to believe. Close your eyes and you will see vibrations of synergy, anatomical chronicles of rules and laws. Find the meaning for a truer cause, mind over matter, ancient druid, matter over mind. We give meaning to objects in materialistic ways. So we no longer embrace our internal world. Look within and realize there is no good or evil, and sin to me never calls. Jump down the rabbit hole and free fall. Spread knowledge to all. Do not convince, only guide the spirits with angelic intentions. When we realize the nature of reality, you will be mentioned in my eulogy. Gases that we cannot breathe, ancient artistic interpretations of peoples and trees, concentrated on gods that we now question. It's the only life lesson. Welcome to the revolution called ascension. Welcome to the revolution called ascension. So are we one yet? Going back to source. No remorse when reinforce the course that we all endorse. Unconditional love. It's the highest vibration, a gift from above. Desolation of separation. We must be the ones to say this is enough. You see, the third dimension, it was meant to be tough. No captivity, so unlock the cusp, move away from hate and begin to trust. Our thoughts shift the earth crust into a straight axis. Just like in Atlantis, stop causing damage and learn to manage self-realization. When people start to vanish when we change our intentions and join the like-minded souls in the fifth dimension, this is the beginning of our oversoul mission. What is it that you envision for the future incarnations? The Christ consciousness has arisen to the perception of being in a prison, this industrial system, slumber of opposites. Duality where we get lost and forget how to achieve liberation. The curiosity won't last for long at all. As you move to the aquatic age, break free from the third dimensional cage of limitations, Freemasons being misplaced in this illusionary reality. Governing authorities, there will be no more war. Co-creator, love ambassador, open the wars. Life isn't supposed to be a chore. No getting on your knees, worshiping entities from the floor. The message is simple, man. We don't need to know anymore. We are the ones that we've been waiting for. Love you all very much. Have a beautiful night. I'll send out the replay to you guys probably by tomorrow. And stay tuned for more. There's a lot coming up. And please do email me if you want to share any information. If you feel like I missed something that I should add to this presentation, you have some insight as well. And definitely email me if you want to go to this tour, because I'm waiting another month to a month and a half to see how things manifest. But then we're going to start collecting the deposits and create this, tour, because it's truly what I've been wanting to do for years now. And I just can't wait to take people down there and share the excitement and the beauty of everything. Hey, everybody, have a beautiful night. Portal to Ascension, over and out. Love you all.